Good morning, CCI. Collingwood Collegiate Institute is built on the traditional lands of Indigenous people that have existed since time immemorial. This land continues to be home to a diverse population of Inuit, First Nation, and Métis peoples. At the time of colonialization in the 16th century, southern Georgian Bay was home to the Teonontate, who were members of the Wendat Confederacy. Subsequently, southern Georgian Bay has been home to the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe nations, before being surrendered by the signing of Treaty 18. We acknowledge the enduring legacy of all Indigenous people on this land and are committed to moving forward in truth, reconciliation, honesty, and respect.
Land acknowledgements are living entities formed by sacred breath that should be spoken from the heart and reflect humility, gratitude, respect, and responsibility toward place, fire, water, and air. They should speak to our honest, traditionally accurate recognition of our kinship with the land. As beneficiaries of colonialism and guests on traditional lands First Nations, Métis, and Inuit called home for thousands of years, we should acknowledge and respect these peoples for the way they lived and continue to live in nature.
Being honest and open about history is essential to the land acknowledgement. Land acknowledgements are not meant to instill guilt or assert treaty rights. They are not lip service to institutional or governmental mandates. They are also not meant to convey sympathies or regret. They are a way for us all to feel more connected to the land that sustains us. They are a reminder of our relationship to the land and the natural world. They are meant to push us to educate ourselves about the history that has shaped our lives here, so we can begin rebuilding from a place of honesty.
Land acknowledgements are a reminder that Canada was not founded on pristine wilderness nor empty space. Rather, it was built alongside and then on top of Indigenous nations that have existed since time immemorial. They also help to remind us that those nations continue to exist and have their own rights to determine their futures, practice their own traditions, and speak their own languages without discrimination and interference from other forms of government.
The land acknowledgement highlights the importance that Indigenous peoples place on kinship with land in a culturally responsible way, and as a step to building a future built on understanding, respect, reciprocity, and a recognition with the land and with one another. And now, we have a short video to present to you.
Wade Huhuadap, Phyllis Webstadren Squest, Strachum Chatstam Slakun. I'm speaking to you today from Shawetmchulach, the land of the Shuswap people in Williams Lake, BC. I am third-generation Indian residential school survivor. My grandmother attended for 10 years from 1925 to 1935. All of Granny's 10 children, including my mother, attended for 10 years from 1954 to 1964. I attended residential school in 1973-74. We all attended the St. Joseph Mission Indian Residential School, simply called the Mission, located just minutes from Williams Lake. My son also attended the last operating residential school in Canada when it closed in Saskatchewan in 1996. To tell my story, I was living with my granny as a child, and when I turned 6 in July of 1973, Granny took me to town to buy me something new to wear for my first day of residential school. I chose a shiny new shirt. It was bright and exciting, just how I felt to be going to school for the first time. When I arrived at the mission, my shiny new shirt was taken away. No matter how much I cried and wanted it back, no one would listen. I never wore my shirt again. Thoughts of home and Granny's garden, fishing for salmon on the Fraser River, are all memories that helped me through that year at residential school. Although the mission remained open until 1981, I never returned. I was able to attend a one-room schoolhouse just minutes from Granny's house in Dog Creek. The memories of that orange shirt being taken away and the lack of caring by those who controlled us kept me from wearing orange for a long time in my life, as the sight of orange would trigger memories of my experiences and the effects of my life from attendance at that school. I told my orange shirt story for the first time in April 2013 when preparation for when the Truth and Reconciliation Commission came to Williams Lake, those involved with the event decided to honor the orange shirt as a symbol of the effects of residential schools and the need for Every Child Matters. Originally, Orange Shirt Day was focused on the Caribou-Chilcotin region, but thanks to social media, it continues to grow and have a life of its own, and has grown into what it is today. My orange shirt story is not unique. There were 150,000 children that attended the residential schools across Canada, and they, or their families, all have a story to tell of that experience. And now, with the recent news of the confirmation of the 215 children announced at the Kamloops de Shawetmach on May 27, 2021, another experience from those schools is brought forward. I, like many Canadians, have felt the emotional impact of those findings. But for the survivors, we have always known about the children who died in those schools. This is why I say confirmation instead of discovery. Even so, when I first heard, I felt like I had lost a family member, and that's how much grief I felt. There are many more residential school sites to be searched, and the number of missing children and unmarked burials will continue to rise. I'm still grappling for a way to make sense of it all and wondering how we are going to get through this. My thoughts and prayers go out to the families, to everyone across Canada experiencing this unimaginable emotional pain. The missing children have awakened all of us to the reality of the history of this country. This year marks the first year of a National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and National Federal Statutory Holiday on September 30th. A day for thoughts and discussions on remembering, recovering, and reconciling. Orange Shirt Day is a day to have conversation about all aspects of residential school. It is a day to honor residential school survivors and their families, and to remember those that didn't make it. And a day to highlight progress in the reconciliation of Indigenous people and Canadian society. These actions are necessary to bring about healing for the future relationship in Canada. We chose September 30th because September is the time of year the children were taken away from their homes and their families. We chose the 30th because we wanted teachers and students time to settle in, time for teachers to teach students about the history, and time for us to plan an event. When I heard an elder say that September was Crying Month, I knew that we had selected the right date. The Orange Shirt Society has produced a number of videos available on our website for the purpose of teaching the past history and bringing understanding of the Canadian residential school system and its effects on Indigenous peoples. We encourage all to learn more of this subject. In closing, I want to thank everyone for participating in Orange Shirt Day and wearing an orange shirt. When you wear an orange shirt, it's like a little bit of justice for us survivors in our lifetime, and recognition of a system we can never allow again. I want to end with a prayer I wrote in my Shawetmach language. Kia el chba'a, de geld gukbi, gukstach guch pin de sietk, gukstach guch de juchinuch, gukstach guch de stietlen, el de saulqua, el de soup, el de graselksten, gukstach guch chochweidap, jucheminta ra chochweid de galmuch de chwaset. Gukstjam, thank you for caring about what happened to us, and thank you for participating in Orange Shirt Day, the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in Canada. Gukstjam.
This day honors the lost children and survivors of residential schools, their families and communities. Public commemoration of the tragic and painful history and ongoing impacts of residential schools is a vital component to the reconciliation process. To paraphrase Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the very Honourable Murray Sinclair, today is an opportunity to acknowledge that there is much more work to be done on an important journey of reconciliation. Ongoing events serve as a stark reminder of the systemic oppression, inequalities, and discrimination that Indigenous people have endured over the past years, decades, and centuries, and the injustices and challenges they continue to face today. I invite all members of our CCI community to learn and celebrate the vibrant and diverse cultures, languages, and beautiful traditions of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also recognize the important contributions Indigenous peoples have made and continue to make in Canada. Once the activities you have planned conclude, I really wish you can please discuss the following statement. At school, students should feel you've all been provided with cutouts or photocopies of a feather. If you can please write, color, decorate as much as you can, brainstorm responses as a class, think about past, present, and future, and choose 5 to write on the feather template. We will take your printed word and then make a display in the front office. If you can please return them to the office or my mailbox by the end of the day today, that would be very helpful. Thank you all for taking part in this very important day, and please let this be the beginning of a journey and certainly not the end.